Okay, so today we're going to do one more roast, and this is probably one of the most famous ones that is known around the world as a Chateaubriand, or a head of a fillet. So when you get this delivered from Johnstone, it comes to you frozen and vac packed, and they put two of these beef drippings. So what this is rendered beef fat from the dry aged range that they use. So it's actually a very smart product and very clever. And what it's going to do is bring a lot more flavour into this beef for us. So it's the head of the fillet. So the fillet goes down along here. We know our fillet steaks. This is up around the top. So what we're going to do is get it into the pan, and we want to get it roasted up. So we're going to add in our beef dripping. I'm just going to add in one to start with. They've also put a little bit of thyme in there. Just carefully put that in, being careful not to burn ourselves. Put into the pan. Okay, so this is what we want to hear. We want to hear a nice loud sizzle, and I'm going to season it up with some salt. And already you can smell the nice beef flavour coming off that, and that's because of the beef dripping that we're using. Okay, now so as you can see, I've been roasting this piece of meat up now for the past 3 or 4 minutes, and it's starting to take on some nice colour. So I'm just going to turn it up on its side there. I want it to roast a little bit more. And what I'm also going to add into that pan now is some vegetables, or a three of the veg that we can roast the beef on when it goes into the oven. So I've just taken a carrot, and I've chopped and tailed it, and I'm just cutting them in half or in quarters. Same with this one, chop and tail, and into quarters. And I've got a whole bulb of garlic cut in half, and I've got some nice red onions. I'm going to cut them in half as well, and then in half again. So I'll just go back to the beef now. So I'm going to turn it back over. Right, so that's been seared off now. The other piece of beef dripping, I'm going to add that into the pan. And a little bit of thyme that came with it, that's gone in as well. The onions. And that's on a nice hot heat, as you can see there. So these are just going to go in to help us make our sauce later on. And also the beef is going to sit on here and cook down. Okay, so I'm going to season up that beef again with a little bit more salt. All over. And a good twist of pepper. And then we're going to up onto the veg. And that's going to go in now to an oven which I've preheated to 220 degrees. And it's going to go in there for half an hour at 220. And then I'm going to lower it down to 180 for another 15 minutes. And that's going to be cooked nice and medium. So you have a roast fillet head of beef going into the oven, yeah? Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to make Yorkshire pudding. An awful lot of people are very frightened of making these because they don't rise and all of this sort of stuff, but I'm going to teach you a recipe today that you're never going to forget, because it's equal parts of flour, eggs and milk. So whatever you put it in, so I'm going to use a little cup here. We've got equal parts eggs, so all we're going to do is crack the eggs into the cup. So I'm using 4 eggs here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see, that's almost full to the top. I'll put that in. And then I've got equal parts milk. So just up to the top. Now I'm just going to whisk that up. At this point I'm going to add in about half a teaspoon of salt, a good twist of pepper. Give that another little whisk. And then I'm going to add in the same amount of flour. So I just have the same size cup, and I'm spooning in my flour till it comes up to the same part on the cup. A bit more here. So again, I've flour, milk and eggs. So I whisked the eggs and the milk together, and now I've added in the flour, and I'm going to just give that a whisk. You can do this in a bowl if you want. I just find it easier to do it in a jug, and then it's ready for when we're going to pour it into the preheated tray which is in the oven. So that's it. The other little trick I'll give you when making Yorkshire puddings is that when you make the mix, it needs to rest for a good 2 hours. So on a Sunday, if I'm doing a roast, I get up in the morning, I make my Yorkshire pudding mix and I stick it in the fridge. And then later on before dinner, I take it out about half an hour before I'm going to cook it, and then I'll show you how to run it through the oven. So I just want to show you the beef now. It's had 25 minutes nearly up at 200. So what I just want to do now, as you can see, there's a couple of little juices running out of it. It's a beautiful smell of herbs and garlic now. It's probably rare at the moment. I just want to turn it over to make sure that it gets caramelised on both sides. And I'm going to pop it back into the oven again. And I'm going to give it another 20 minutes. So it's going to take 40 minutes about to cook from start to finish, okay? So we've seared it off nice and hot. We started it off at 220 degrees for 20 minutes. I've just turned it over there now. I'm lowering it down to 190. I'm going to give it another 20 minutes. And that way it'll be cooked medium rare to medium first. So now, after 2 hours, the Yorkshire pudding mix has had a rest. As you can see here, it's in a jug. I'm just going to, this is a muffin tray, a non-stick muffin tray. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of oil in a can that we use a lot in the kitchens, okay? And then what I have the stove on here, as you can see. I'm just going to set that on there. I'm going to add a little bit of, this is just vegetable oil, into each one. And what we're looking for here is for this tray to be nice and hot. And then I've got the oven set at 240 degrees, okay? So we're going to put the Yorkshire puddings in and we're going to cook them for 15 minutes at 240 degrees. And then we're going to lower the oven down to 210 degrees for another 10 minutes. So this is what we want to see happening here. You can see that the oil is starting to smoke, and then we just want to divide our Yorkshire pudding mix. As you can hear, that's starting to sizzle now. That's what we want. So we're just gonna, it comes just a little, about halfway up each one. We're gonna work nice and quick here. Okay, so then being very careful because this tray obviously is hot. We're gonna gently put it into the center of the oven. That's preheated, as I said, to 240 degrees. And I'm going to set the timer now for 15 minutes. So the most important thing I'll say to you about cooking Yorkshire puddings is don't open the oven. Okay, so what we're trying to do is those Yorkshire puddings are going to souffle up and get nice and big for us. If you open the oven, you release all the air, and as they're rising, they'll just fall back down again and then they won't rise. So the key to a Yorkshire pudding: hot tray, make the mix, leave it in the fridge to rest for a couple of hours, take it out half an hour before, put your tray on the stove, get it even hotter, add the mix into a preheated oven at 240, then bake for 15 minutes, and hopefully we'll have nice, light, fluffy, risen Yorkshire puddings. Now, the Yorkshire puddings have had their time in the oven. Get in there. As you can see, they're nice and risen. They're nice and crispy. So we gave it the 15 minutes at 240 degrees, and then I lowered it down the oven to about 190, 200, and I gave it another 10 minutes. And as you can see, they're all nice and crispy and risen, and they come away from the tray very easily. So I've just got a Yorkshire pudding, and I'm going to take a nice slice. The beef, as you can see, is perfectly roasted. It's beautiful and juicy. I'll take a little slice off the end of that and show you. Just how we like it, so it's nice and medium rare. I'm just going to give that a small little bit of salt, a crack of pepper. So, a wonderful roasted fillet of Irish beef from Johnstone with the easiest Yorkshire puddings that you'll ever make. Enjoy.